Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to apologize if you can hear the guitar in the background. It's from a neighbor. I'm sorry, I cannot do anything about it. But anyways, today I would like to talk about the socioeconomic status and its implications on Japanese society. So, socioeconomic status can be defined as one who has access to material, human, and social capital. Several different ways to measure it. Socioeconomic status include, but are not limited to, educational attainment, occupational class, income level, unemployment, and household size. Socioeconomic circumstances are found to significantly influence health and well-being. Compared to other countries in the world, Japan is one of the longest life expectancies and healthy life expectancies in the world, which is influenced not only by improvements to standards of living from economic growth, but also the rather small socioeconomic disparities within the population. Thus, it would be interesting to investigate the degree to which differences in the socioeconomic status of the Japanese people affect dietary habits and health. However, research shows the difficulty in clearly identifying socioeconomic differences and the relationship to health and dietary habits among the Japanese population because social inequality in Japan is rather minimal in comparison to other developed countries. One important factor that plays into healthy practices is the amount of health literacy that an individual has. Health literacy, which is defined as the degree to which individuals have the capacity to obtain, process, and understand basic health information and services needed to make appropriate health decisions, can therefore be considered a key determinant in maintaining healthy practices, including good dietary habits. A study was done in order to investigate the association between health literacy and socioeconomic status in Japan. They deduced that health literacy and socioeconomic status, particularly educational attainment, are positively correlated, meaning that individuals with lower health literacy tend to have a lower educational attainment and vice versa. From here on, I would like to present some of the results from different papers covering the topic of health in Japan in relation to socioeconomic status. Generally, individuals with lower socioeconomic status have a higher likelihood of exposure to risk factors such as poor diet, stress, smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, lack of health checkups, and physical inactivity. This study found that lower occupational class and lower household income were generally associated with a higher likelihood of risk behaviors such as having poor dietary habits, smoking, and excessive alcohol consumption. Interestingly, higher per capita income, however, was significantly related to poor health in women compared to men, implicating gender differences in health within Japanese society. Another interesting study investigated the relationship between socioeconomic status and health along a third variable, communication. They suggest that differences in healthy lifestyles among the Japanese population could be partially explained by focusing on how socioeconomic status is related to health communication outcomes. So basically how people access, seek, process, and act on health information. Lower levels of education and household income were associated with less recent seeking of health information and with lower self-efficacy in seeking health information, suggesting that people with a higher socioeconomic status that are therefore more educated and have higher income have healthier habits compared to those with a lower socioeconomic status. Researchers have conducted a review on research papers that were mostly published within the last 3 decades. They state that socioeconomic differences in death rates and risk factors are rather small in Japan, but not homogeneous across the country. Although smaller in pattern, magnitude, and impact compared to other Western countries, different socioeconomic contexts and inequality contribute to the mortality and biological and behavioral risk factors in Japan. Taking a look at these various studies, we do see trends similar to that in Western countries. For example, lower socioeconomic status generally leading to poor dietary habits. However, most studies conclude that socioeconomic differences in health outcomes are reduced or less expressed, although they are slowly starting to increase. Another interesting point to consider is that within Japan, there appears to be a social crisis with negative implications for Japanese society, which in turn would also lead to some form of social inequality. Factors such as performance-based payment system, consumerism, and materialism, a stressful and competitive education system, the decline of familiar traditions, a rapidly aging society, lack of socialization, increased urbanization and spatial isolation, as well as a high level of medial influence, contribute to social dysfunction and represent Japanese social characteristics. New buzzwords such as Nito, Frita, or Hikikomori that are characteristic of the situation are perfect examples of how Japanese society is moving towards a system of social inequality among its people, despite its economic strength and technological advancements. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about my thoughts. So I was initially very surprised that socioeconomic status seems to not play as big of a role as I would have expected. Well, the consensus among the researchers suggests that um, among European and American countries, socioeconomic status does play a very pronounced factor in predicting someone's physical health. This trend, however, seems to kind of lag behind in Japan. While possible explanations that range from Japan's rather equal income distribution to its high level of formal and tertiary education, I personally do not find these to be very satisfying. Instead, I much rather believe that food in Japan holds a very high cultural value that is deeply embedded into Japanese society, and that therefore leads to a much higher awareness towards nutrition and the health implications of bad dietary habits. So people basically take care better of their health and they put more thought into their well-being. So thank you very much for your attention.